They're all coming in now! I am Ants Canada, creator of worlds, the biological engineer of a multi-year operation in my giant ant room lab, located in my home, where I'm building an expansive network of ecosystem vivariums. Exhibit A, Pantora, my 1,000-gallon cloud rainforest floor vivarium, which is connected by way of a cave tunnel to Exhibit B, Hydromeda, a tropical wetlands vivarium, and to a vertical glass bridge of wooden vines, ascending up to Exhibit C, Orchidia, a treetop canopy vivarium on the floor above, and through an opening at the back, leading to a fallen log bridge, to Exhibit D, Verdantia, a gargantuan 2,000-gallon tropical grasslands vivarium. It's all one massive connected ecosystem I call Pangea, housing a plethora of fungi, plants, and animals whose purpose is to reveal how ecosystems work in the wild. And boy, have things suddenly started to get wild. Ever since creating this new hole, whose primary purpose is to allow bees to exit Pangea to access outdoor flowers, I always knew there was a possibility creatures would wander through the hole and into our ecosystem, assuming they could get past the bees. And I couldn't wait to see what kinds of creatures I'd find. Well, it turns out, this week, I spotted several new mind-blowing species in Pangea that completely blew my mind. But nothing, and I mean nothing, could have prepared me for the ultimate creature discovery and plot twist, reminding me that if one invites Mother Nature over to come inside and play, she'll always come flying or crawling in with her favorite game of chaos. Please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon. Welcome to the AC family. Enjoy. No way! AC family, I couldn't believe it. We were nominated for 2 categories for this year's annual Webby Awards. So the Webbies are like the Oscars, but for all things internet related. And I'm happy to share that the Ecosystem Vivarium series was nominated for Best Editing and Best Longform Series. Isn't that crazy? But I need your help, AC family. Part of the awards is a People's Voice Award, where you guys can vote at home. So please, after watching this episode, kindly vote for me, Ants Canada, in both categories at both the links I will place in the description box. And also as a pinned comment, let's show him the power of the AC family. Voting ends April 16th. No matter what happens, I already see this as a win for us. A win for science and education, which rarely gets a spotlight these days, and I hope to represent us on that Webby stage in New York City next month. Big thank you to the International Academy of Digital Arts and Sciences for the nod. Now, speaking of big surprises, I sure wasn't ready to discover the things I did in Pangea this week, and it all began with the new bee hole. With it being summer where I live, aka the dry season, many utilize this storm-free period to do outdoor home improvements and renovations, and my place was scheduled for a new paint job. Now, I was a bit worried the painters might be harassed by the Vivariums, our new stingless beehive, so I watched the scene like a hawk. Turns out, The bees were totally behaved and didn't bother the painters at all. Guess they're not as barbaric as I thought they'd be, and only get aggressive if you try to break into the nest, like when harvesting honey. Speaking of which, looking inside, I noticed the bees had been busy doing some home renovations of their own. I couldn't believe the series of new chambers they had made from propolis, which is this incredible sticky building material the bees make and regurgitate up, made of plant resins, balsams, beeswax, essential oil, pollen, and plant gums. It starts off as a liquid, then hardens to create an antioxidant and antibacterial substance that becomes part of the nest. It was cool to see them already expanding their nest, which would just continue to expand from here. Eventually, they may also build a propolis labyrinth entrance to plug up that big hole into their bee box. By the way, I've decided to name their bee box Terabithia because it's attached to the new fallen log bridge above it, which I've decided to call the Bridge to Terabithia, or Terabithian Bridge for short, due to your popular requests in a previous episode. Now, until the bees do build a propolis entrance to plug up that hole, I was well aware that creatures from the outside could make their way in. From morning to early afternoon, the entrance is full of bees, but by late afternoon, the bee activity greatly decreases, and by night, the bees are completely asleep, which gives creatures from the outside a good 16-hour window to come in. And so, AC family, let me take you back to how I discovered our new arrivals. I decided to set up a feeding station with a small dish of coconut nectar placed inside a larger shallow glass vase of water to create an island that would keep black crazy ants from accessing the nectar, so only the Vivariums could drink it. I placed it into the Terabithian Bridge for the bees. Hours later, bees were definitely drawn into the bridge, but looking into the feeder, I spotted a few drowned ants, as well as a drowned bee. I found that the bees weren't interested in the nectar at all, but instead were visiting the feeder to drink the water. This made a lot of sense, seeing as right now water was hard to come by outside and was extra valuable at this time of the year. In fact, Pangea happens to be a hidden oasis in a stick-dry landscape. The rains began to pour in the Vivaria. Pangea's ecosystem represents the montane tropics, meaning it's higher in elevation than, say, the lowland rainforest found outside my home. And so Pangea receives cooler temperatures, higher humidity, and daily bursts of rain, even in the summers. These conditions make Pangea a bit of a Goldilocks zone for life, amidst the sun-scorched world outside my home. And the creatures outside seem to sense it. A jumping spider appeared close to the entrance to Terabithia. The swarm buzzed as the spider looked and assessed the risk. I could almost see her mulling over the logistics of how she could crawl through the hole from which she could sense a cool, moist air emerging. She had to strategize. The bees were so close, and alarming them wasn't what she wanted. The problem was, it was the bees' peak traffic hours. She carefully inched her way closer to the hole. She was so close now. But in the end, she decided it was just too risky. The bees would surely get to her. Maybe next time. The monkey paw trees were growing so close to the glass that periodically the hole would be brushed by with leaves. I would soon learn that having this big tree so close to this hole would make the entrance into Pangaea so much easier for so many different creatures. It was afternoon, and Vivarian activity in Terabithia had died down. Looking into the bridge, I was surprised to see what I first thought was a weaver ant. How neat! But upon closer inspection, this was no weaver ant. This was a weaver ant mimicking spider, a species of jumping spider that cosplays a weaver ant. Isn't that crazy? The other day I saw a Polyrachus mimic in here, and now this spider. How cool! It had a few tasty bees to snag up here. And this is when I spotted something strange. Hey, where did that dead bee go? And also, that patch of moss, that wasn't where I put it. It used to be on top of the log. I also spotted this piece of moss that again had been moved from its original place. I knew this scape inside out. These moss patches had definitely been moved from their place. Perhaps it was the tree frog I once spotted in the Terabithian bridge one night, which, by the way, after re-examining the size of the spacing of the wire filters on both ends of the bridge, I decided wasn't a frog from Pangaea, as it was too large to fit, so it must have entered from the outside, or came in hiding with the log. Alright, yeah, it had to be that frog moving the moss as it hopped around. But then I spotted this. Droppings. These were not frog droppings. This belonged to something else. A reptilian. I had an idea of what species this poop could have come from, and I'll tell you what species later. But if it was still around, it had to be hiding inside the log, and so I had an idea. I took a small plastic container with some moss and began to add pinhead crickets, as well as some juveniles. They began to hide and nibble on the moss. I also made sure to moisten the moss to give the crickets hydration, though I wasn't sure the creature I had in mind was insectivorous. I placed the entire container into the Terabithian bridge. If there was a creature in the bridge that eats insects, we might be able to see evidence of it. If the crickets disappear, and if we're lucky, we might even be able to catch it in the act of feeding. I crossed my fingers. But little did I know, what this trap would reveal was beyond anything I ever imagined. But meanwhile, Mother Nature's neat kinder surprises continued to pop up as I spotted more new species in the tanks. In Orcadia, the acrobat ants were fighting off some red ants from food they had claimed. The treetops were full of ant action, and my absolute favorite were these. The Sapphire Royals, our resident blue ants, emerged after the rains to begin foraging for food. These cloud rainforest natives are a dream species, and I never grow tired of watching them go about their business in the canopy, where they feed from fruit. I was actually right about these ants, native to the cloud rainforest not too far from me. I knew they'd love the Pangaean climate versus the world outside my home, and would therefore not choose to leave Pangaea through the hole. They had it good here, and they knew it. But as I was watching the blue ants, a slightly different shade of metallic blue caught my eye. I almost missed it, dismissing it as a blue ant. No way! Guys, check it out! This is a metallic blue wasp from the family Pompilidae. It was eagerly drinking water from the Orcadian foliage. It must have been so thirsty. And I was happy it found its way into the hydrated Orcadian treetops. What a stunning steel blue color. Now wasps from this family are solitary, and they're considered a parasitoid species that hunts spiders. Pregnant females of these wasps seek out spiders, sting them to paralyze them, then seal them up in a nest. After laying an egg on them, the egg hatches and the larvae devours the paralyzed spider before developing into an adult wasp. It's a gruesome hunting style, and this wasp probably doesn't know it yet, but Pangaea is just full of juicy spiders it could eat. Now guys, the metallic blue wasp wasn't the only wasp I saw in Orcadia. I was floored when I spotted this huge mama. Oh man, was this a queen wasp? I waited until it stood still so I could really examine it. Based on my research, I believe this to be a potter wasp species, which was a bit of a relief because turns out they aren't a eusocial species, and I didn't have to worry about this wasp founding an entire wasp hive in Orcadia. Assuming my ID is correct, she is a solitary wasp belonging to the subfamily Eumeninae, parasitoids just like the metallic blue wasp, but not of spiders. Of caterpillars. Ah, you're in the wrong tank, girl. You should check out Verdantia. Perhaps there you'll find hawkmoth caterpillars. I was quite okay with finding so many predatory species in the tanks, because the prey insect population in our ecosystem was a bit on the high end compared to what it was like at this time last year. In fact, last year, we introduced microsquirrels into our ecosystem, arboreal insectivorous rodents, which ultimately led to a rapid decline and extinction of insects over a period of several months. So I ended up having to remove the predators, a whole renegade colony of microsquirrels, as well as a pair of chubby frogs, whom I released back into the wild, the quails whom I moved into my giant home aviary for a while, before bringing them back to live in Verdantia, and if you recall, even a Pandoran-born sunskink named Snap, who I released into the giant home aviary as well. Man, has Pangaea gone through some really insane transformations, hosting so many sets of creatures. Looking back on what an incredible journey it's been, watching our ecosystem evolve has been one of the most eye-opening and phenomenal experiences of my life. Like a gifted glimpse of what God sees from beyond. But speaking of the giant home aviary, AC family, I have to take you there now to explain what creature I believe has been lurking inside our bridge. At the center of my home, a 3-story aviary full of rescued songbirds fly free in a tree and plant-filled safe haven. But also living here are these. This is a sailfin dragon, one of 2 that frolic the vegetation. They're arboreal lizards found in my area. They're so proficient in the trees and will sometimes leap from the very top 4 stories high, landing right smack on the bottom, completely unharmed. They're omnivores, eating a lot of vegetation, but also insects. Now, I believe a sailfin dragon might have crawled through the hole and is inside the Terabithian bridge right now. Another possibility was that it was a flying lizard, a baby of which found its way into Hydromeda when it was first created, imported in via the driftwood. This is why I also used pinheads for our trap, because they specialize in eating tinier insects. There were actually many other possible lizard species found around my home that could have well crawled through the hole. But all I know is, that poop in the Terabithian bridge definitely belonged to a lizard. It was time to check our trap. But wait, one last thing before we do that. Look who decided to come out into the sun. Snap crawled carefully along the stone ledge across the back of the aviary. It isn't every day that I see her, and over the past few months, she's been a bit MIA, as she entered a sort of hibernation state called brumation, where her activity level greatly decreases, and she simply hides away until the summer, which is now. She was hungry and looking for food. I was pleased to see that she was looking quite fat, considering she's been brumating since October, and hasn't been eating much. I was certain she was sniffing out all the hidden roaches that come out of the aviary's drains in the night and hide all around the aviary. I love when I'm able to catch a glimpse of her, and I know those of you who watched her grow up in Pantora would appreciate this update. She crawled into one of the bird nest baskets, where she curled up to sleep before sunset. And now it's time for the big moment. Time to check our trap. And this is when things got totally crazy. The first thing I noticed was that our crickets were all gone. And though it seemed this was a case of eat and run, luckily, I thought of checking the patch of moss and couldn't believe what I saw. What? A baby sun skink? Okay, wait. How is this even possible? These lizards are mostly terrestrial. I mean, yes, these lizards are known to climb trees, so it was possible that it managed to reach the hole, enter Terabithia, and crawl up into the bridge. But that seemed to me was like a Mission Impossible movie. The other more likely possibility, AC family, was that it actually came in with the log. A scenario that sounds much more plausible. And I mean, it's not the first time we'd unknowingly imported a lizard into the ecosystem. Crazy though, right? It was actually kinda cute. What should we name it, AC family? Let me know in the comments. Come with me, little one. I have an awesome place for you, full of insects to eat, sunning spots to bask under, and of course, free of predators. I decided to release it into Verdantia, and before I could get a better look at it, the baby sunskink dashed away, deep under the great tree, officially moving into our grasslands. I hoped it would survive and grow up with us. Mother Nature is always just full of surprises. Over the course of the 2+ years that Pangea has been under my care, I would usually have to arrange Gaia events, where I introduce new populations of flora and fauna into our ecosystem to ensure its biodiversity. And in some cases, remove populations to ensure biodiversity, because out in the wild, there aren't glass barriers containing sections of natural space. They're completely open for creatures to come and go as they please, make use of whatever resources they need in that space, then leave. Before, I needed to act as that agent for introduction and removal of species. But with this new 4-inch hole in Terabithia, it was cool to know that I now had some help in that department and could step back a little, as insects and critters of all kinds could enter and leave our ecosystem. And to think, how ironic is it that all it took to bring Pangea closer to being self-sustaining was to simply open her up and let Mother Nature take over. Perhaps one day I'll find more unique ways to open up Pangea to the outside and invite Mother Nature into my home to teach us more about ecosystems. But until then, I see this as a total win, because it says a lot about our little slices of paradise we created together, that our resident creatures choose to stay, and so many from the outside want in. It was like a nod from Mother Nature. What is that? What is that? OMG! Vote in my community tab to affect this story.